All right, guys, let's do a follow-up to a video that I did on Russia and Twitter. And the title from RT reads, Twitter still ignoring Russian demands to remove illegal content despite country's decision to throttle website speed. Now, I did a video on this, so I'll put a link up here, where the Russian government was telling Twitter either you remove all the filth that Twitter hosts, all the violence, the pornography, the abusive content that you host on the Twitter platform, or the Russian Federation threatened to throttle Twitter's traffic down to make it super slow and impossible to access inside of Russia and eventually block Twitter. Of course, that's a great reason alone to get rid of Twitter from your country. But there's the other reason that the Russian government is also leveraging, and that is the fact that Twitter is absolutely toxic for a country's sovereignty, because Twitter, if your government doesn't conform with the Twitter woke neoliberal ideology, then Twitter actively works to instigate protests, riots, regime change, and color revolutions. So, and it's not only Twitter, Facebook as well, and other big tech companies. So it's a great way for Russia to kill two birds with one stone, no pun intended. Get all the filth out of your country, get Twitter out of there, and thus remove all types of filth that Twitter promotes, and also get rid of one of the most toxic platforms that helps instigate all kinds of bad stuff, like riots, protests, which lead to some sort of regime change or color revolution or some sort of coup against your government, especially if your government doesn't conform to the neoliberal woke SJW ideology of Twitter. So here's the article. Twitter has still not gotten in touch with Roskomnadzor, Russia's federal regulator for mass media, despite the authorities slowing down the California website for its refusal to delete thousands of posts with illegal material. That's according to Yevgeny Zaitsev, the head of the Department of Control and Supervision of Electronic Communications at the regulator, who revealed on Friday that the Russian authorities are still waiting for Twitter to get in touch. Quote, "We are ready for dialogue. We know those who are responsible at Twitter, and they know us," he said. "Our claims remain unanswered. No one has come out to us. There are no answers to our questions. In any case, they can file counterclaims at any time in a Russian court. We are ready for any dialogue." Yeah, so hopefully Russia throttles the site speed, makes it impossible to use Twitter in Russia, and then eventually blocks Twitter. And basically, this executive at the Department of Control and Supervision of Electronic Communications, this regulator, director there, is saying, and then Twitter can come to a Russian court and they can dispute what we did, which basically means that Twitter would be screwed. Good luck with that, Twitter, going to a Russian court and figuring this out after the fact. So Zaitsev's comments came days after Roskomnadzor targeted Twitter in Russia for its refusal to comply with laws, with the added threat of eventually banning the social network entirely. In particular, the authorities have taken aim at the U.S. tech giant after it ignored requests to remove more than 28,000 posts, apparently including calls for suicide and child pornography. In response, Twitter said it was, quote, "deeply concerned by increased attempts to block and throttle online public conversation." Let me read that again. This is Twitter. Quote, "was deeply concerned by increased attempts to block and throttle online public conversation." That's what Twitter responded with. The company that blocked the president of the United States is saying that it's concerned that Russia is trying to block and throttle online public conversation. Do I need to even make a comment, guys? No comment. I'm sure everyone in the comment section will be able to comment on the absolute hypocrisy of Twitter with that statement. As of February 1st, according to new Russian legislation, social networks are now required to identify and block forbidden content themselves and should take immediate measures to restrict access to prohibited material, as well as posts that call for terrorism, promote violence, and call for unsanctioned protests. The law also includes content with foul language. The episode is the latest in a series of conflicts between Twitter and Roskomnadzor. In February, the social network removed 100 accounts it alleged were linked to the Kremlin for undermining faith in the NATO alliance and targeting the United States and the European Union. In response, the regulator demanded a list of all the affected users with explanations for why they were blocked. So remember that about a month ago, Twitter basically did the bidding of NATO and just started to remove accounts that were quote unquote Russian affiliated. Once again, Russian Russian bots, Russia did it. You know, that narrative that's getting so damn old and tiring and is a bunch of BS. We all know it's BS. But anyway, that's what Twitter did. So it basically did the bidding of NATO, and they're the ones that fired the first shot. Twitter fired the first shot at Russia, and Russia now responds, and they're saying, remove all the crap that you have on Twitter, or we're going to throttle your site down and eventually block it. And if you have a problem with it, come to a Russian court and deal with it. So what was Twitter's response? Deeply concerned by increased attempts to block and throttle online public conversations. That's how Twitter responded to the Russian government's requests. Yeah, okay, Twitter. Twitter's toast in Russia, guys. I hope Russia pulls the trigger. I really do hope that they throttle the traffic of Twitter down and eventually block them. That is going to be amazing. Amazing. Anyway, guys, that's the video. Take care.